Here's Abbie Shapiro to whine about how hard it is to be conservative.
Hello, Classic Crew, and welcome to today's video, where I'm going to be sharing highlights from my speech, Conservatives Are the New Resistance.
What exactly are you resisting?
So I recently did a speech for the USC and UPenn College Republicans, and it was such an amazing experience. I had such an amazing time coming up with the idea, writing a speech for young conservatives, because being a young conservative is not easy in 2020, and we need all the bolstering we can get.
Defending the status quo is hard, you guys. Nobody rewards you for defending the rich and powerful. It's not like just anybody with a social media account who's willing to say what some Republican or libertarian think tank tells them to has ever made a career out of it or anything.
The left will tell you that conservatives run the media.
No, the left will tell you that capitalists run the media.
The left has social media on its side. According to a newly published Pew Research Center report, 55% of US adults now get their news from social media either often or sometimes. Think about that. We talk about how Twitter and Facebook are just platforms, places for people to share what they want when they want, but they bring people news. So why does this matter? Just a few weeks ago, Twitter and Facebook prevented the sharing of a New York Post article about Hunter Biden just because they didn't want you to read it.
More specifically, because companies who pay to advertise on those platforms don't want their brands appearing next to anything they don't like. I think they went overboard with censoring the Hunter Biden stuff as well. I understand how frustrating it can be to try to stay on the good side of the social media companies. Their standards are vague, inconsistently enforced, and change all the time. But let's keep in mind what the ultimate cause of this is. It isn't the left, it's the market. It's the people paying social media companies to show their ads. It's ironic that so many conservatives say they want a free marketplace of ideas, then get indignant when their ideas are rejected by an actual literal marketplace. Conservatives have to blame this on the left because their ideology won't allow them to place the blame on the market.
They fear President Trump because he has called out the media time and time again for their fake news and their leftist skew. But who is the one limiting free speech? The left.
By the left, do you mean people calling conservatives bigots on social media, or do you mean the billionaire tech CEOs who run the social media companies?
You have to know your stuff. As young conservatives, you have to know your positions inside and out.
But apparently you don't even need to know what the left even is, because if you did, you'd realize how silly you sound accusing it of doing all the things that capitalism is actually doing.
Being liberal comes with lots of bells and whistles. You get to say that you're part of a revolution.
Well, apparently if you're conservative, you get to say that you're the new resistance and the new punk rock.
You get to scream and cry, and people will take that as an argument because you're fighting injustice.
And if you're conservative, you get to talk about Second Amendment solutions whenever you don't get your way.
You get to pose nude on the street facing a line of police officers and call that brave because it's a powerful use of womanhood to fight patriarchal oppressor institutions like the police.
Abbie, are you really all that resentful of the fact that your politics keep you from doing protests?
In a lot of ways, being conservative isn't as sexy. We believe in principles that we apply to ourselves.
Oh, like the principle that non-MDs shouldn't call themselves doctor, even though you still call Dr. Phil doctor, and you call Sebastian Gorka doctor, and you call William Lane Craig doctor?
Here's the good news. And it's great news. You get to be happy. It turns out, totalitarianism that's based on a spiteful, nervous, and hateful view of the world, society, and everyone in it is a miserable way to live.
What do you think totalitarianism is? Apparently, it's when you defend marginalized people from defamation and dehumanization.
Being open about being conservative, choosing to actually build your life around your conservative values, is so much more likely to make you happy than either A, being leftist, or B, pretending to be leftist so you can live under the radar in their miserable woke world.
Then what are you complaining about? For someone who lives the happiest kind of life, you sure do a lot of whining.
Plenty of studies have actually shown that conservatives are happier than liberals. One study published in 2012 showed that conservatives are happier on average than liberals, and another study published in 2018 found that conservatives find life more meaningful than liberals.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's the case, but I suspect the causal arrows point from happiness to conservatism rather than from conservatism to happiness. If you're happy living in the status quo, of course you're going to be conservative. Of course you're going to defend the way things are if the system is working in your favor and you have nowhere to go but down.
The left finds their meaning in victimhood, in their never-ending crusade against the oppression they constantly need to root out. Women, for example, have to view themselves as victims of the patriarchy, and if you don't agree, you're not just wrong, you're a traitor to your entire sex.
Well, if conservatives are the new resistance, what are you resisting if it's not your oppression? And when you talk about how it's not easy to be conservative these days, that kind of talk sounds awfully victim-y to me. To everyone who helps me out on Patreon, you're a big help. Thanks so much.